Welcome to readtheticker.com. Recently on the main blog I posted this Apple chart, a daily chart with the trailing stop tools inserted on it. We've got a downward trailing stop, the red line, and we have a blue upward trailing stop and another downward trailing stop. What is to note about the trailing stop is that this one here is set at 10% off the lows when it's going up and 10% off the highs when it's going down. Nothing moves in a straight line. There's always a bit of volatility and a bit of a wiggle, but you can tell that pretty much the money managers and hedge funds out there, institutions, are following the stock up because they're managing the 10% pullback. Okay, so whenever it gets closer to 8-9% pullback, they're into it, they're buying it up, and they're managing this markup quite nice and tidily. When a stop is busted, that means somebody in the crowd, when the composite man, have changed their mind and they're actually going against the crowd and started to sell. Same with down here when you on the stop on the downward side, you know that there's movement in the room where people have moved from net sellers to net buyers because they've broken this 10% stop. Let's assume that the 10% stop logic is pretty common amongst all stocks. Now, with this tool here, when we load it in from the main chart, we have to select the start date at the low, or any particular low you like, and then it draws the 10% up along the chart. So this is very specific to a single chart. What we like to do at readtheticker.com is we like to have our flash charts where we can look at many stocks by just putting in a symbol and get a fair idea where the stock is, the trend. Now, one of the problems is we want to see where the stop is for that trend. So we have a tool called RTT Steps. So just keep in mind, look at this blue line, see how it's trailing up, a 10% stop below the low, and see how it's stepping up quite nicely, and notice where it is relative to price action. So if we go to this tool called RTT Steps, you see RTT Steps here, the setting is 26.01, 32, 8, it's a bull, that's a bull trend, so we're looking at it going up. I've got the reaction, which is the red dotted line, set at 80%. And you'll notice that the red dotted line is, the 80% is a measure from the high of the band to the low of the band. So 80% falls down here. If you notice this red line here, it falls pretty much near exactly where the blue stop loss line is. But the better thing about this tool here is that if I change the symbol, I go in here, I change the symbol, and I put in IBB, Biotech, another strong trending one, which we know the money managers have been following. The idea is to scan your stocks with a automatic stop loss tool. There we go here, it's 1,000 bars. As we can see here, the 10% stop works pretty good, a bit of weakness there. But generally speaking, this trend line, or this trend of this IBB Biotech, has been managed pretty well by the money managers. You see here, whenever it spends time below the dotted line, it's the 80% mark, you no serious weaknesses in. So here it broke down and it started settling above the 80% line, so the 10% stop was starting to work again. Money managers were resettling up for another go higher. We had a bit of a spike down, it still held going up, and it broke again here, and obviously you had a short just about here because it broke down very weak, and it had fallen further than 10% once again. Then we had a bit of a base building up here, and as you can see, it just broke again. So when you're flicking through your charts, you want to find the trends that do not interfere with the reaction of 80%, aka the 10% stop, because you know that the composite man and the wider money managers out there are managing the bid and ask to make sure it goes up in a markup period, because they will not let it go down beyond the 10%. Let's find another example. JP Morgan saying. Once again, I'll just remind you, the blue line, which is a fixed starting point by entering a date, it's an object. This is the perfect trailing stop. But you can't flick through charts with that automatically on. You have to use the RTT Steps tool to show that red dotted line. So let's just have a look at JP Morgan. We have a bit of a trend here. A bit of a trend here, as you can see. And you can see the weakness coming in. If price action is spending too much time below the red line, the red dotted line, you know that there's weakness in the house because the money managers are unable to defend that 10% pullback. Eventually one of them will turn into more of a serious correction. That's a quick way to view charts with a pretty good monitor of a 10% stop. With the RTT Steps tool, with these settings up here, 26.1328 bull with a reaction of 80%. Thanks for watching.